The winter is over. It's time for Formula 1 2025. Yes, that long break that you've all been coping with so well can now be put to the back of your minds. It's on-track action and it's off-track drama. That's what we're looking forward to. We go racing today then in the state of Victoria, where the drivers have 14 corners and 3.28 miles to navigate at an average lap speed of around 120 miles per hour. The close proximity of the barriers make accidents inevitable, and recent history shows us that a safety car is not at all out of the question. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Piastri, Hamilton, Charles Leclerc and Tsunoda, Russell, Sainz, Fernando Alonso and Pierre Gasly, Antonelli, Albon, Esteban Ocon and Hülkenberg, Stroll, Bortoletto, Ollie Behrman and Jack Doohan, Voisin, Lawson, Hadjar and Dennis Hauger rounds off the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Well, I don't know whether Anthony Davidson is meant to be asking, answering Natalie Pinkham and David Croft's kind of questions inside this game, but clearly he doesn't want to. Everybody keeps asking him stuff, and he's just focused on the racing and what he needs to do here, which should be commentate, but apparently he doesn't want to do that. Welcome, though, obviously, to the race strategy screen. Most races on F125, I assume, are going to be one-stops, so medium to hard is going to be the way to go. I must admit, it's very, very cool, I think, for Australia to be the first race back on the calendar. I'm going to run a little bit of extra fuel in the car for this first race, just because I don't know kind of how economical it's going to be. But if we get a safety car or a red flag or anything like that, it is going to be very, very interesting then. But I think we're ready for the first time on F125 for the opening Grand Prix. It is 5 red lights here at Albert Park. Oh, and not a long hold at all. And it's going to be lights out and away we go. I really hope that Mark isn't going to tell me that every time. He's doing... We're trying to look down the inside of Stroll in towards turn one. Their big send coming from the Australian rider there as Behrman and Stroll side by side on the exit of those first couple of corners there. We've done pretty well, actually. A fairly undramatic start for us, as it looks like most drivers opting for the medium or the hard compound tyre at the start. Let's try and see if we can have a look around the outside of Behrman, as he is on those harder compound tyres, getting over the curve a little bit. We really do feel the car bottoming out a lot more than we did inside F124 there, but down the inside of Ollie Behrman, who was lost, I believe, 2 places then off the start of the Grand Prix, so not the ideal one for him. That Stroll down a place, Jack Doohan up a couple of places as well, and we have gained one also. But if you've watched Albert Park in any of our previous series, you'll know this place is very much about the slipstream. Of course, it is going to be interesting to see whether the DRS strains are any better than they were inside F124. But early on, I'm expecting it to be a very, very much kind of strategic race there, as Lance trying to look back around the outside of Jack Doohan, actually going to trip himself over. So we're going to have a look down the inside of the Canadian. There we go, up then into P17 early on there, as I believe that's Carlos Sainz. No, it's Gasly and Kimi Antonelli having a little bit of a battle just up in front. Verstappen comfortably leading at the end of lap 1, though, our reigning world champion, of course, in the hunt for his 5th world title in Formula 1 there, as more wheel-to-wheel action coming out through the first couple of corners. We're just kind of going to try and settle in. That's going to be our most important thing here. I just don't want to make a mistake in this first race. So almost into the back of Jack Doohan. Got to be careful we don't do that. One thing I'm definitely noticing early on here is the DRS doesn't feel as powerful as it did inside F124. Maybe it's just because I'm kind of stuck in a bit of a DRS strain here and maybe lacking a bit of straight line performance, but obviously Jack Doohan got that Renault E-Tech power unit in the back of that car, so, you know, you'd expect if we're going to be able to get speed on anybody, it would probably be the Alpine. Obviously, when we use a little bit of battery, though, we can start to close in on him just a little bit more, but of course, yeah, with the weakest car on the grid, you know, we are just probably looking to survive in this opening race of the campaign. I mean, it would be the most Matt212 thing in the world, wouldn't it? Would be to get a mechanical failure here. We're getting a really nice run, actually, out of the chicane into the outside of Jack Doohan. Make sure we give him some room into the corner. Try not to put myself over the curbing, though, all too much, as it will compromise our run on the exit. And there we go, then. Still making moves early on. We are getting closer and closer to that top 10. Yeah, Bortoletto, though, again, obviously one of our other rookies that has really hit the ground running to kickstart the year. I am still looking to obviously make a few tweaks and changes. One of the first one, I need to remember to put the full track map back on as well. Bortoletto, just a little bit of a wobble out of turn 1, and that's bound to happen for the rookies. Bortoletto there just braking a little bit earlier than I expected down at the end of that back straight, and well, you definitely as well feel the dirty air a lot more on this year's game. So talking of, huge rear locking moment through those final couple of turns, lucky on a couple of occasions there to keep the car pointing in the right direction and not pick up any damage. Obviously tire temperature management as well, very, very important inside this game. So we've got another couple of battles going on in front. Kimi Antonelli has been under so much pressure early on here, and I think kind of everybody behind him is hoping that there's going to be an opportunity for a point in this GP. It looks like Gasly, though, is currently running back up in that top 10 position, so Carlos Sainz, he must be having a fantastic debut with Williams way up the order. But again, patience is going to be key. You've got to try and time your moves inside the F1 games, especially in the last couple of years, so I'm kind of hoping we've learned from that, and that we can kind of capitalise. Oh, this is getting really frantic between everybody there. It looks like Antonelli has broken free again. Gasly now might have actually lost the DRS in all of that battling there as well. To the inside of Bortoletto, we sense an opportunity, and we've absolutely sent it on one of our fellow rookies. Oh, he's going to try and keep the nose down the inside there. So we'll try and really squeeze into the apex through that final corner, but up then into P15. Got to be very, very careful I don't lose the DRS to Hulkenberg. Sorry, Ocon though, just up in front of me. Have we done so? Not quite yet. Fantastic. Like I said, DRS is probably going to be everything here. That and battery management. So a little bit of a lock-up again in towards turn 3. It is so important if you outbrake yourself, you don't panic. Otherwise, you're going to be going just straight on into a gravel trap, most likely. Now we're up behind Esteban Ocon and Nico Hulkenberg. Of course, at this point, two of the more experienced drivers on the Formula 1 grid are really struggling. They're kind of keeping toe with the pair of them. I think we're just taking a little bit more out of our tyres than a lot of other drivers are at the moment. But as they're all bunching up behind Kimi Antonelli again, I'm really trying to attack through that chicane just to keep up. I also don't want to use all of my battery, because obviously if we do that, then we're going to be very vulnerable again to everybody else. But Kimi Antonelli, a little bit of a disaster for the Mercedes rookie so far, because he kind of got disconnected from all of the quicker drivers. And the likes of Gasly and Albon are just hanging him. Nico Hulkenberg, though, first car into the pit lane. That's a very early pit stop in this Grand Prix. I don't know whether anybody else is going to be in. No, they're not. So Sauber might be a little bit quicker than we were expecting, but their tyre wear is not great. Oh, there we go. Gabriel Bortoletto as well then into the pit lane. So maybe Sauber trying to do a two-stop in this race. George Russell and Charles Leclerc have also come in though. So we are nearly now into the points here. And maybe we're going to have a battle with a Ferrari on our hands pretty soon. I mean, that's the most Ferrari strat I've ever seen. Charles Leclerc, he's gone on to a set of the soft compound tyre. So he's definitely going to be pitting again. But he will hopefully be quite quick. I don't believe we've had it so far in this Grand Prix, but I think we're going to be overtaken for the first time inside our F125 career mode. I've got no real interest in defending from Charles, so we're just not in our race at the moment, and we'll take him for a little bit of slipstream and DRS as well. Maybe, though, if he's able to try and battle his way through some of these other cars, I mean, look at how much he threw it through the 9 and 10 chicane there. Can he get a run on Ocon? He's going to have a look to the inside of the Frenchman there as Gasly and Antonelli again trying to put on a show, and of course Ocon, you know, a Ferrari kind of sub-team, if you will. Again, I don't think... Well, he's going to fight him too hard. That's not what I wanted to do, though. Just a little bit of a moment there. We'll try and get back on the road. Maybe a little bit dangerously in front of Isaac Hadjar, but completely lock the rears as Hadjar will try and look down the inside. That is an annoying mistake. Under no pressure whatsoever, just overtipped it. That might go to explain why we made that mistake there. The tyre temperature, the tyre warning light, the wear warning light, now just flashing up inside this race. So yeah, I think the tyre's starting to give up the ghost there, especially that left rear. Tyre temp isn't too bad though, so we haven't struggled with that too badly in this race. As all we've got yellow flags out, someone might be breaking down. Whilst that's going on, Isaac Hadjar trying to look around the outside of us, but it must have been a car behind. No idea who that is though. At the moment, doesn't look like anybody's gone. I think we're going to dive into the pit lane at the end of this lap. I was worried that it might be our teammate Dennis Hauger falling to the wayside. Oh, it is Dennis Hauger! No! Our first ever race, and Dennis Hauger is not going to see the checkered flag. And it looks like, yeah, we're going to have to fly the flag for 212 Motorsport here. Very, very disappointed with that one. I assume it's just an engine that has gone pop. So, yeah, obviously already Hauger then might have to take some penalties heading into the next race. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. It's a different bind this year. That's a little bit annoying. That's going to be a slow stop. Of course we do.
But let's try and put that behind us now and get back into this race.
As laps go on this game, that's a pretty disastrous kind of lap and a bit. We're down into what is effectively obviously last now. And the cold tyres feel brutal. Got to be really, really careful getting them up to temp. But yeah, Lawson, Ocon, Behrman all now quite a long way up the road. So I'm hoping we see cars again before this race is done and dusted. Kimi Antonelli in and out of the pit lane there. Oh, he's all the way up there. So Kimi Antonelli, I mean, 19th in a Mercedes right now is not what he would have wanted. We do seem to be a little bit quicker, though, than Liam Lawson in front. But of course, he shouldn't be in last place anyway in this race. things like the Salvers that are going to have to pit again, that's where we should have a major advantage still. I hope we're not going to finish last. Oh, I think Esteban Ocon's got problems. Oh, I think Ocon's got issues here. He might have lost some of his wing as he is going to dive into the pit lane yet again then. I think, yeah, he's missing part of his wing there, so no idea what has happened to the Frenchman, but at least it's going to promote us back into 20th, even 19th. 18th is Lance Stroll, of course, forgot about him in this Grand Prix, but let's see if we can latch onto the back of Antonelli, and maybe then we can use him to drag us back up. Liam Lawson as well is definitely struggling in this race because he's been losing a lot of time over the last few laps as well. But Antonelli then, as we make our way down the back straight, he's surely going to be able to get a look. Oh, I just hesitate a little bit. The real Kimi Antonelli wouldn't have done that. Tries to have a look down the inside into the corner as well there, but we've all heard the Liam Lawson song. He will not budge unless he absolutely has to, as Kimi Antonelli again to the outside then, down in towards the final few corners. Surely he's going to be able to get that one hooked up there as well. I wanted to try and follow him by, but Lawson positioning that car fantastically. Oh, Lawson, how slow do you want to be, buddy? Try and have a look down the inside there, but again, just don't have the confidence on the brakes. Is he missing an end plate, or is he just struggling? I can't really tell. We will try and again get on the battery. So there we go, Isaac Hadjar also coming through the pit lane. We've got another one making their way back out onto the circuit. Oh, as they will really block Antonelli there. Albon trying to make his way back out onto the track, and well, Kimi Antonelli gotta be one of the most unlucky drivers so far this GP. Just does not seem to be able to get the car where he needs it, but we need to try and find a way around Lawson. Come on then, we need to get a run on Lawson here. You can already see Albon and Antonelli starting to get away. So a bit of a late dive there against Liam Lawson there, but we don't block up. We get the car slowed down into the apex. And up then back into P16. Like I said, if we can just stick with these two, maybe a decent result is still possible. There we go, Bortoletto in for his second stop, so that's going to be another spot gain then for us up into P15. I know Hulkenberg should be pitting again. I don't really know about anybody else. Albon, well, is pulling away there as we got very lucky, nudged the wall, but I think we got away without any damage. Do not want to do that too many times. And if by magic then, one lap later, Nico Hulkenberg in and out of the pit lane as well, so hoping we can try and stay ahead of those Saubers by the end of the GP. I mean, Hulkenberg's going to be a good 5 or 6 seconds behind, and we're setting some pretty good laps just tucked up behind Antonelli. I might be able to get the jump on him before the end, as I think he is again, yeah, struggling in that Mercedes. He's sliding around all over the show through some of the corners, but, you know, the young Italian, he finds the limit by trying to over-push it, as we saw at Monza last year. Ollie Behrman. I kind of forgot Ollie Behrman needed to pit again before this race was done and dusted, as so does Carlos Sainz and George Russell. So, out of nowhere there, Antonelli and I battling for the final points-paying position. George Russell is going to be a lot quicker than us, but, I mean, if one more car has to pit, there might be a real chance. Oh, Antonelli, big lock up there as I try and put him under a little bit more pressure. I'm not trying to make the move at the moment. I just want to stick behind him because Russell now immediately is going well over a second a lap faster. It was about 3 seconds by the time he got those tyres up to temperature, and it's already down to 1. So maybe I was on a bit too much hopium, thinking we could try and get a point here, but the one-stop strategy has definitely been the way to go. But it's been great to see so many AI trying the 2-stop. Also, definitely the biggest improvement, no DRS trains, it looks like. There was a little bit of one early on in the Grand Prix, but kind of the AI really kind of spread out in this GP, which is fantastic to see. So, the most annoying feature of F1 24 might once and for all be gone. I might be about to screw myself over by going for this, but I just want to say that I was inside the top 10 at some point during this Grand Prix there, to the outside of Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Didn't expect to be battling Mercedes today, but up then into 10th we will go. And actually setting a purple middle sector time as well there, so rather happy with that one. I've got no idea what's going on at the front of the order. Norris, Piastri, Verstappen, they've all set fastest laps in this GP, but it is going to be as much of a surprise for me as it is you guys by the time we get to the flag. I can just keep these guys behind me for even if it's just a couple of laps. Russell now found his way past Andrea Kimi Antonelli, so I think Toto might have got on the radio telling them to swap positions here as well, a little bit wide through the curb. I can feel there immediately the car got lifted up just a little bit and kind of got a little bit loose, but able to keep it pointing in the right direction. But if I can just use most of George Russell's tyre advantage early on and keep him behind us, I just want to give ourselves a shot, a chance to fight for a point. What a storyline that would be to kickstart the year. We had no pace in quali, but the car has kind of come alive, especially on these hard tyres early on here as Russell going to try and have a look to the inside, or Antonelli tries to have a look to the outside. But again, we will defend into turn 1, and again, we will let them kind of battle each other and drop back. 4 laps remaining then of this Grand Prix, and I think after Antonelli got back past George Russell, he's been told he is allowed to fight there as well. Again, you see, we give the Mercedes a big squeeze down in towards turn 1, but that actually allowed Russell to get back past him yet again here. 4 laps remaining of the Australian Grand Prix. I want to try and reinvent myself. F125 is hopefully going to be the game where I'm less of a bottle job. Certainly not saying it's never going to happen, but I want to make less mistakes. And if we could somehow kickstart this game with points on debut, I would certainly not complain about that one.
They seem to have an issue.
Oh, Kimi Antonelli with problems then right towards the end of the Grand Prix. I don't know if there was contact between those two behind us, but here comes George Russell then, powering his way through. Antonelli's gone and lost another spot, so I think he might be in the doldrums right towards the end of the Grand Prix. It has been a very, very unlucky race for him, but Russell now finds his way through. He'll keep the DRS, and I'm kind of a little bit worried now we might see the Merc just drive away. Oh, Esteban Ocon's gone. Okay.
Looks like the problem's terminal. They're retiring the car.
See, we saw earlier on he having to make an extra pit stop in this race, but Ocon then cannot see the checkered flag on his debut for Haas inside this series. Oh, we really try and send it out onto the back straight there. We might just get back in the DRS range of George Russell, but we didn't do it at the right point there. Carlos Sainz now trying to apply a bit more pressure as well, as I think we're going to see the stricken out Haas car even, I should say. There is Ocon's abandoned car through the exit of the chicane, but 2 laps remaining then. Oh, this is going to be so difficult to stick with Russell. One more lap remaining then in this Grand Prix, and I think Alex Albon, his mediums, really starting to fall off as well. The hard tyre has definitely been the tyre of choice throughout this afternoon's Grand Prix, but we have somehow been able to stay in the range of Russell. The only thing I'm worried about is if he now gets the DRS off Albon, he probably won't get to him, but he'll be able to get away from me there as, oh, huge slide out of the final corner, and that might leave us vulnerable to Carlos Sainz. Little mistake there, but the tyres are definitely going off towards the end, as we will be forced to tuck back in behind the Williams, met with a load of dirty air as well down in turn 1. You really, like I said, you do feel it a lot more inside this game, and, well, I think it was always going to be a bit of a miracle and we could somehow get this car into the points here today, but fighting against Williams and Mercedes, admittedly, are on a very, very different strategy to me. If they'd done the one stop, I don't think we would have ever really seen any of them. That goes to show just how wide open it's been today. You've got Hulkenberg running up in P13 in his Haas car as well. But Max Verstappen, though, is going to win the season opener here from Albert Park. So kick-starting his World Championship defence in exactly the way he would want to. As we make our way through the final few corners, looks like Russell might be able to get a run on Alex Albon there. We're going to try and get a run on Sainz, who's got no battery left, in towards the final few corners. To the outside we will go. Albon and Russell, of course, former rivals in the Junior Series. And now Albon will drop down into P10 here. We're giving it everything we possibly can through these final few corners. It is not going to be enough, though. Whoa, back end again, trying to break 3. But through the final corner, P11 on debut. That is not a bad start here for the team.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
It's another victory and a champion's performance from Max Verstappen.
Well, they kept us guessing during pre-season testing. We all wondered who it was going to be, and to have them drawn out here today, that they are the ones to beat, just goes to show that all the work they put in has really counted.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everybody at the team. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Well, there we are then. Max Verstappen victory to kickstart the season here in the land down under. Lewis Hamilton comes through for P2 there, so a podium on his debut for Ferrari is not bad going. Lando Norris just ahead of home hero Oscar Piastri, who again will have to wait for a first Australian podium at home. Yuki Tsunoda, Charles Leclerc, Alonso, Gasly, Russell and Albon will round out your top 10 there. P11 for us. Definitely the one stop was the way to go. So the likes of Sainz and George Russell there really did get a bit screwed over throughout the Grand Prix. But driver of the day as well. We can't complain about that on our debut. Esteban Ocon, Dennis Hauger, the two drivers have failed to see the checkered flag. Our best rookie, I believe, was still Andrea Kimi Antonelli, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, of course, none of our rookies taking points in this season opener. I guess, obviously, myself would have been the best ranked rookie from this opening round there. World Championship, of course, drivers table exactly the same as your race results. Constructors-wise, the Red Bull with an 8-point buffer ahead of McLaren, who are 1 point ahead of Ferrari there. 7 teams scoring points to kickstart the year, so very good job by them. But we are already up in 8th place after that opening race as well there. But yeah, for those of you interested as well, I'm going to upload the full race here, obviously with the commentary through the parts that I've obviously commentated on. But if you want to go back and obviously watch the entirety of the action here from Albert Park, there'll be a link to that down in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching. Get yourself subscribed. There's going to be another episode of this series coming out this evening. Click the join button as well. You get early access. So that'll mean 4 videos from this career mode today. But yeah, that's going to do us for this one though. And we'll be back very soon. Ready, I believe, of course, out in Shanghai. The first sprint of the all-new season.